I can hear you saying, Katrina, a film review in the week. You make movie reviews at the weekend. But this is not just a film review. This is the film review. This is the Barbie versus Oppenheimer film review. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel every week, and then movie reviews just like this one, although not as in-depth as this one, normally at the weekend. But what we did was we swapped around, and so I brought you my Lindsay Kelk book review and event vlog footage, which if you haven't seen, I will leave linked up above, at the weekend instead. And I knew that on Monday I was going to see both these films back to back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to review them in the order that I watched them. So I watched Oppenheimer first and then Barbie, and then the film that I'm going to review for you this weekend, spoiler alert, it was awful. And so if you just want to see my review of Barbie, I will leave a timestamp below. So all of my movie reviews are of course spoiler free, so I will leave a playlist of my recent reviews linked up above in case you are looking for something that isn't Barbie or Oppenheimer to watch in the cinema. Head there. There's things that are still playing right now, and things that I have enjoyed recently as well. So yes, I saw Oppenheimer first. I did not see it in any enhanced format, just because I was going to a particular cinema for the Scream Unseen that I saw, and I'm reviewing for you this weekend. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that one. And so I just thought, right, if I can fit it in, I will try and see these other films beforehand, because I've got nothing else to do today. The car's in for its MOT. I can get a bus to the cinema and then go and see this other thing in the evening. So I managed a 12 o'clock showing of Oppenheimer and a 3:45 showing of Barbie, which gave me about 20 minutes in between the two, which is ideal if you ask me, especially since all I wanted to do on the first day of summer holidays was sit in the dark and the air conditioning and just be, and it was perfect. So I am not normally a Christopher Nolan fan. I will start by saying that. However, I've been seeing, as we all have, the trailers for both of these for ages, and I was really intrigued because I love a biopic. If you've been following the channel for a while now, you will know that if it's a biopic, even if it's sort of sci-fi related or a bit fantasy related or a bit controversial, I will go and watch a biopic because I love a biopic. Now, I am still planning on going to see this in IMAX before it stops being in IMAX, because I then saw at the end of the film that some of it was filmed in IMAX cameras, and I always try and go and see that. So I'll need to go to my other cinema to go and see it in IMAX and try and find time to do that, because it's 3 hours long. So yes, this is a long film. I did use the RunP app, which I've been using for years now, just in case I needed to go, but I was fine. I was absorbed. I sat there and I was in an incredibly full screen. And I feel like what I'm about to say is a bit of a review of this film in itself, because yes, it was a full screen, but the audience was so well behaved. It's like the best behaved audience I've been in a long time. Like, there was no talking, there was no sort of shuffling around. A few people did try to get up to their seats via my end of the front row, which there's no staircase there, so they just kind of came very close to me and sort of hit the wall a bit, and then realised that there was no stairs there. But that was the only badly behaved thing. I had somebody directly next to me. They were very well behaved. They ate an entire Toblerone, respect to them. The way to handle a 3-hour film is to eat an entire Toblerone, if you ask me. Myself, I had some popcorn and some iron brew, so I was fine. But yeah, for it being a 3-hour film, it's one of those that does keep you absorbed for those 3 hours. I'd seen people talk about the fact that this was like lots of little clips put together, and so that's why it was kind of hard to find a good time to go and use the bathroom. And that kind of put me off a little bit, I'm not going to lie. But it is lots of different scenarios. We've got flash forwards, we've got flashbacks, we've got these various different hearings that Oppenheimer and Robert Downey Jr.'s characters are in, and so we kind of flash around to some of those as well. And so I am definitely going to go and see it again, because I do think it is a film that will benefit from another watching, and specifically I want to go and watch it in IMAX again anyway, and so I'm going to try and make that happen because I want to see it again. There's a lot going on. There is a lot going on. You don't have to know an awful lot about him as a person. going into this because I knew basically nothing, and I still got the gist of what was going on and who Oppenheimer was and what it was all about. I was personally excited about the fact that some of it is set and filmed in New Mexico, and I really have enjoyed the parts of New Mexico that I've seen, that I've driven through and explored. And so that was interesting, seeing the building of Los Alamos and kind of everything that went down there and why they specifically chose New Mexico. That was something that kind of stuck out for me as something that I enjoyed. I also really enjoyed Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. Now, obviously, he's not a main character in terms of the billing of the film. However, he is a big character in this film. And I really have only seen Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. And so it was really interesting to see him in this role. I know he has been in other things, and I know I've probably seen him as a supporting role in other things, but personally, I was just coming to him as Iron Man, and I was like, whoa, he's doing this other role really, really well. And so he's not been typecast at all, which is fabulous. Cillian Murphy was good. His acting's interesting because he's got, quite a sort of intense look anyway. His just general facial expression, he's got like not resting bitch face, but resting like intense like face, like and so it kind of lends itself well to the role. Emily Blunt is in this one. I thought her character would be a little bit bigger than it was, but she was kind of almost, her character was relevant in her lack of largesse and her like lack of dialogue, and so that was an interesting role. There are some major people in this. You kind of like look at the cast list and you're like, wow, everybody. Between me watching Oppenheimer and me watching Barbie, because everybody's also in Barbie, I feel like I've seen all of Hollywood in one day. But if you've been following the channel for a while, you will know that I am a huge fan of Florence Pugh. Fighting with My Family was one of my favourite films of that year. I can still go back and watch it again and again. Just seeing her in this film, because she was brunette in this one as well, made me want to be like, I want to go and watch Fighting with My Family again, because I just so enjoyed her in that film. And she was fabulous in this film. Again, she has quite a small role, but it's quite a significant role, and she's fairly loud and brash in her role and quite naked in her role as well. But it definitely had an impact on me. So big takeaways were, it doesn't feel as long as it is on paper. Robert Downey Jr. was excellent, and if I was thinking about sort of Oscar categories, the cinematography and the sound were fabulous. There was a real balance between like really quiet moments and really loud moments. I mean, you know what this film is about, and so that there are going to be some super loud moments. And so it was really interesting how they chose to balance that out. And I think when they chose to be really quiet and when they chose to be really loud, it really had an impact. And so, yes, it sounds a bit naff, but yeah, in terms of Oscar categories, those bits definitely were impactful to me. I would definitely go and see it again. Should you pay your cinema going money to go and see it? It's really expensive for an IMAX ticket to go and see this. I saw it on a normal screen and it was really powerful. I will reserve judgment as to whether you should pay for the IMAX screen to go and see this, because I want to take Ollie to go and see this, and for his ticket it's going to be like £22, and that's hideously expensive. Like, mine's just a £5 upgrade, but his is £22, and so but should you pay your cinema going money to go and see this one? Yes, because you get excellent value for money. It's a 3-hour film. You get to learn some stuff. You get some nice shots of New Mexico, you get some nice shots of Florence Pugh, and you get some excellent acting. And so I think that it is definitely worth the cinema value. I also feel like you could go and see this one with quite a wide range of people. But then I also feel like you could go and see Barbie with quite a wide range of people. And again, I was in a full cinema, and the full cinema included children, and the full cinema was fairly well behaved. And so you can tell that, the Barbie movie also has some audience appeal to it. So yeah, Barbie. I didn't know what to expect going into this one. The trailers don't give an awful lot away. I thought it might be a little bit more about like the history of Barbie. But because this is Greta Gerwig and she's an amazing female director, we shouldn't have to add the word female. Didn't say Christopher Nolan male director, did I? Yeah, because we have Greta Gerwig, who's an amazing director. This film has a lot about empowerment and has a lot about your self-identity, not just if you're a Barbie, but also if you're a Ken. And I really love that about it. And just like Oppenheimer, everyone is in this movie. John Cena's in this movie. Rob Brydon's in this movie. Kate McKinnon's in this movie. Like, anyone that you could want to see on the screen, they're like, oh yeah, we're in the Barbie movie. Like, yeah, again, Marvel actors in the Barbie movies. It was great. But yeah, I couldn't specifically tell you exactly what it's about. Like I said, I thought it was going to be about the history of Barbie. I thought, given the trailer, that there'd be some like musical numbers, which there were a couple of musical numbers, but not sort of, it's not a musical, and I was expecting more musical numbers than there were. And so that was interesting. But yes, it really is about identity and this idea of like how difficult it is to be a woman, but also sort of how difficult it is to live with a woman who's struggling to be a woman as well. Like that's another kind of side of it that was really explored, you know, how difficult it is to be a Ken. And so we have this Barbie land and this real world division. And then when we sort of get over to the real world side, that's where we get America Ferrera and Will Ferrell and the guy out of Stathless Flats, who's an amazing comedian. And like, it was interesting that they had that distinction between the Barbie world and the real world, because you can go and you can escape and you can play with your Barbies and not be in the real world. And I was excited because there was Barbies that were shown on the screen in the opening bit. I was like, I had that Barbie. Or like they showed a Barbie that was like discontinued. I was like, I had that Barbie. And then they showed Alan, played by Michael Cera, who I had an Alan. Like it's very kind of nostalgic at the same time as having this message about individual identity and how difficult it is to be an individual in the real world today. And yes, there are some musical numbers, and yes, there are some fabulous clothes, and yes, there is some female friendship, and that was great. But it just wasn't kind of what I was expecting it to be. I would say it kept my attention slightly less than Oppenheimer did, because there wasn't as much sort of interest, but there also wasn't sort of as much going on. It was very much like, right, okay, we know what's going to happen here. And it was definitely a little bit more predictable than Oppenheimer. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because you know sometimes, especially when sort of romance is involved as well, I do like a little bit of predictability. And so, yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the message, and I would go and do exactly the same as I did the other day and watch them both back to back, because I think they go really well together, because they're completely different films. And it's not like, oh, I'm just watching the same film again here. If like you watch two kind of action films or two romances or two musicals back to back. And so, yeah, my final judgment of Barbie versus Oppenheimer, I thought I was going to be Team Barbie, but I think I enjoyed Oppenheimer slightly more. But then I love a biopic, and I expected Barbie to be more of a biopic than it was. But should you pay your cinema going when you go and see Barbie? Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it'll definitely have some discussion. It's very empowering for young women if you are taking somebody younger to go and see this. And it is a bit of sort of fun for all the family. Whereas, you know, Oppenheimer, it's slightly less so for all the family. Because of the nudity and the swearing and the bombs. But yeah, that's my final judgment, and I stand by my judgment. I hope you enjoyed my kind of look and comparison and my double movie review in the middle of the week here for me. Do let me know, as always, in comments if there's a particular movie coming up this summer. I was so much freer to see movies this summer that you would like me to go and watch. Do let me know in comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Also, let me know which you preferred if you've seen both this opening weekend. I will be back with an actual movie review, weekend movie review for you this Sunday. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on that. I will also have next week my July wrap up and my August TBR coming your way. So you don't want to miss those. I will see you with my next video. Thanks for watching.